Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, Alex Cora, the Boston Red Sox manager, has been fired quite early in the season as the Red Sox see themselves behind the New York Yankees in the AL East and off to a really miserable start this season where the expectations were high. Again, they brought in some pitchers, Ranger Suarez, Sonny Gray, got Roman Anthony back, and, they were kind of supposed to be the quote-unquote real better team in the AL East, even better than Toronto and the Yankees, but of course fall flat to start the season, so I guess they have to make some sort of move there with a puncher's lineup and a pitching staff that really hasn't been as fearful as we thought they would be entering the season there. So Alex Cora finds himself out of the job along with the coaching staff there. So we'll kind of take a look at the situation, snicker, make fun of it. Of course, it's the heated Red Sox rivalry. Well, not really heated lately, but they're on the floor, so obviously you want to kick them in the ribs and stomp on the head there. So we'll use this episode to do so. Before we get started, to make sure you subscribe to this podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast. Again, get cool little updates and notifications and little news stories like this. Can't get anywhere else. And there's also the YouTube version of the show. Go to YouTube, search for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and subscribe there as well. So, of course, the news coming down that the Red Sox parting ways with not only Alex Cora, but 5 members of the coaching staff. So, they also let go of the hitting coach, the third base coach, some of the assistant hitting coach of that, and the assistant of the hitting coach. Pretty much cleaned house. The owner, John Henry, again, making the decision, making the announcement. It's a little stunning there because, they did not get off to a good start, but this is a team that at least, did make the playoffs last season, and you would think they give Cora a little gravitas, and again, he was kind of seen as the better manager than Boone, and kind of he always outsmarts Boone and all this stuff there, and, did deliver them a World Series back in 2018. Now, again, that was kind of it was about 8 years ago, but still, to kind of let this gentleman go just after 1 month into the season there, a little extreme there, but I guess they had to make a kind of statement, as you all know, you can't quote unquote fire the players. You could fire a GM there, but I guess someone has to take the fall. So they decided to make the move and firing Alex Cora. Again, the Red Sox find himself in the basement in the AL East and not really looking much better there. And this maybe also had to do with the fact that the Yankees just went up in Fenway a couple days ago and swept them. That might have been sort of the nail in the coffin when they decided to make the move. So let's say the Yankees didn't play them till May, for example, and there was no sweep and everything was the same. The Red Sox had the same record. We're also in the same place where they're in the AL East. Would have they pulled the trigger? Maybe not. I just think maybe this them getting swept by the Yankees. Not only is getting swept by the Yankees the way they did this, again, their lineup had no punch to it. The Yankees threw 3 excellent games in a row. You got 2 starts by both Schlittler and Fried, pitching 8 innings strong, and then the Luis Heel pitching into the 7th inning there, throwing up zeros. And I guess that their lineup looked absolutely dead. The Yankee offense, it wasn't really spectacular those 3 games there, but I think that really cemented and really put the nail in the coffin for Alex Cora there. And I think the fact that they got rid of the entire pretty much coaching staff just kind of shows it wasn't really about Cora itself. I just think they just needed to show something, do something for both the fans as well as just the players themselves, that we just got to overhaul everything. So not only Alex Cora go, but the whole coaching staff has to go, and they just had to do something because, as I said before, you can't fire the team. It's way too early to consider anything to do with trades or anything like that. And, I think you're not at a point where you're going to quit on the season. I mean, there's still a ton of baseball left. So even with the Mets and their Met fans and the 12-game losing streak they had there, you could have a stretch where you get off to a bad start, but then you get to the middle of the season and you go from middle of May to middle of August, and you could have a point where you're the best team in baseball, but no one really realizes it because it's kind of in the middle of the season there. So much too early to even think about selling off and trading off players like that. So you got to make some sort of move. So why not? I guess get rid of the entire coaching staff there. But really, I got to say this more falls on the GM. No tears shed for Alex Cora. Again, he was kind of part of the coaching staff that was involved with some of the initial cheating there. Going back to Houston and the Yankees, and that was back in like 2017 with the whole buzzer there and the garbage can thing and a lot of stuff with Beltran there. And that's probably the reason why Beltran didn't get the Mets job going back to 2020. And when Cora was implicated in this, Rob Manfred in 2020 also suspended Cora. He was out of baseball for a while, and then once he was eligible to come back, the Red Sox did re-sign him for a couple of seasons. And in his latest deal, he was on a 3-year deal with the Red Sox. Now, it was in his second year of a 3-year deal, so the deal would have expired at the end of 2027. So the Red Sox are going to still pay Cora for 2026 and 2027, but of course, Cora now out there available if somebody else wants to hire him. And hey, if things go bad for the Mets as they have been, maybe the Mets will look to part ways with Carlos Mendoza. Maybe they want to hire Alex Alex Cora. So maybe Cora will find himself in New York, ironically, just because of this whole thing. But nevertheless, not getting too ahead of ourselves there. But really, again, getting back to this, I mean, you kind of have to look at the team itself. Going back to 2018, they unload a lot of their stars. They have the whole situation last season with Rafael Devers. They signed Alex Bregman, who is normally a third baseman. Well, you already have Devers there at third baseman, so those two had their were locking horns a little bit, and Devers turned out to be the odd man out, not only because of the whole Alex Bregman situation at third base, but saying that Devers wasn't being a good teammate. He didn't want to accept the DH role, and he was quote unquote being an influence on some of the young players in there, and that's really the whole thing. I think they had like high hopes for a lot of these guys like Caleb Durbin, Roman Anthony, Jared Duran. They were supposed to be like the quote-unquote new generation of the young talent they had down there in AAA for a long time and in their minuses. And this is supposed to be the young fresh blood. It was going to be the new David Ortiz's and the new Manny Ramirez. And sort of Rafael Devers was kind of the bad influence on them, so that's why they wanted to move him out. Well, now let's look at these guys. Roman Anthony, who, again, they were expecting big things from him. Right now, hitting .225, 1 home run, 4 RBIs. I mean, it doesn't seem anything special. Jared Duran, who, again, has been good for the Red Sox past couple of seasons, hitting .198. Again, only just 1 home run this season there. And then Yoshida, who, again, we know he's not a home run hitter or anything great like that, but just hitting .261, no home runs, 5 RBIs. So, again, this team just does not hit, and you just look at their lineup, it's punchless. There's no one really that scares you in that lineup. You want to look at Wilson Contreras, the longtime veteran, hitting .250, 5 home runs, 17 RBIs. That's the only really guy that really scares you a little bit. The rest of these guys is not scaring you. So if you want to blame anyone, I would blame the GM, just putting this a weak team there. And of course, they lost Alex Bregman to free agency, so obviously he opted out of his deal. And just look at the rest of their infield. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. I mean, it was nice as a Yankee, but that was like 4 years ago. He was with Toronto last season, but again, he doesn't scare you. And what else? Trevor Story, okay, but hitting .198 with 2 home runs. So it's just a weak lineup. So if anything, I'd put that more on the GM, just having a flat lineup, and maybe some of these young guys like Duran and Roman Anthony, who they thought were going to be, the best of the best in this new, young group of, instead of calling baby bombers, baby Bo Soxers, there's supposed to be this new young great group of core guys we're going to have for a long time. Well, they're not really panning out, and maybe they're not as good as they thought would be. So we got to blame somebody. So Alex Cora takes the fall for that. And of course, it's funny enough, right after they fire him, they play the Orioles, and then the Red Sox win 17-1. So maybe there was something going on in the clubhouse. It just seems like, I don't know, that shake them up. They fire the manager, and then you win the next game 17-1. Garrett Crochet, who has struggled early this season, throws 6 strong innings there. So a little stunner there. Kind of rare to see a manager get axed this early, at least someone like Cora, who is kind of well regarded as a good manager, and he's won them a championship in 2018. But of course, this season so far, the Red Sox have been a huge disappointment. They made the playoffs last season. They figured Roman Anthony back, and plus, again, they added Sonny Gray. They paid a lot of money to Ranger Suarez, and they were looking for a big leap there, and so far has not been the case. And just, what are you gonna do there? You got to show the fans, you got to show players, you're gonna do something there. But again, I'd put this more on the GM and the owner, how this team's been constructed, because all the guys they thought were good right now are hitting like 198, just have 1 home run. I mean, no one really there scares you. So I'd put that on the GM, not Alex Cora. But no love for Alex Cora. He finds himself out of a job, but I don't think he'll be on the street too long there. And if the Mets can keep having a brutal start to this season as they have been, Carlos Mendoza might be next on the list there. And then once Mendoza's out, maybe they look to hire someone like Alex Cora, who at least has bigger resume there than probably anybody else who's available right now on the street. So that's the episode. Catch you next time.